Welcome back. In this video of the resource and development, this is going to be the second video on this chapter. Resource planning. We are going to understand about the resource planning in this video. What is the meaning of resource planning? Resource planning means before the extraction of the resource or before the utilization of the resource, we make a proper plan to stop the wastage of the resource and to have a integrated development in our country, because the resources are not unlimited, the resources are limited, and the population is too huge in our country, and even the some states are lacking some resource and some states have the huge amount of the some of the resource. For example, if we talk about the Chota Nagpur like Jharkhand, the Raniganj of the West Bengal and the Chhattisgarh, in these states have the ample and the large amount of the coal reserve, But if we talk about Rajasthan, if we talk about the Haryana and Gujarat, they have the ample scope, they have the large amount of scope for the wind energy. They don't have the coal energy. So some states are lacking in some particular resource and some states have the large amount of specific resources. So we have to do integrated development. We have to do the development of every state, the state which are lacking in some resource as well as the states which are the states which have the ample and the large amount of the resource. So it means we have to do the integrated development to stop the wastage of a particular resource and to have the maximum utilization of every resource, because the resources are never unlimited, they are always limited. So we need resource planning. So if we talk why we need the resource planning, so resource planning is a method to stop the wastage of the resource and to do the full utilization of the resource. So it is the meaning of the resource planning. If we talk about why we need resource planning, because some states are rich in some resource but lack another resources. As I have stated just now, the example of Rajasthan, Gujarat and the Jharkhand and West Bengal, Chhattisgarh. The West Bengal, Chhattisgarh and the Jharkhand have the particular resource, but they are lacking in the other resource. As well as the some other states are also having one particular amount of the resource and they lack in the another resource. So we need resource planning. So I hope that that you are able to understand the meaning and why we need the resource planning in our country. So as the resources are limited, the resources are always limited. We cannot have unlimited amount of the resource, because once the resources has been made, it takes the millions of the years to be made once again. So we have the limited resource. Resources are not only limited, but they are distributed over different parts of the country. So these are the main points. I expect that you are sitting with a pen and paper and you are writing the notes. Resource planning is also essential for the production of the resource as well as to protect them for over exploitation. Another one is the over exploitation. If we do the over exploitation, it will be a great danger to our environment also. So we have to stop the over exploitation of the resource also. So whatever we have discussed about the 3 points, the 3 important points we have discussed so far in the resource planning. So these 3 points, let's have a look over these 3 points. First, the resource is limited. Second, resource is unequally distributed in India. Some states lack some amount of the resource and they have the large opportunities for the another type of these the the another type of the resource, as well as some states have the full resource, the full particular type of the resource. So this is going to be the second point. The third point, to stop the over exploitation of the resource and to stop its wastage. If we continue to explore, if we continue to extract large amount of the coal or oil, the storage of the resources would also be a problem. So if we don't have the proper storage and we are extracting the resource from the nature, so it will be the wastage. So we have to stop the wastage, and we have to stop the environmental effect also, because whenever we are extracting the resources from the nature, it will have the adverse, it will also have the opposite impact on the environment also. So so these 3 points must be taken into account while discussing about the resource planning. Whenever you are writing the answer, these 3 points should be present, otherwise it is very difficult to get the marks in the board exam. So let's move ahead. Resource planning. Actually, the resource planning have the 3 main stages. The 3 main stages. Whenever we are going to do the resource planning, there are 3 main stages. I hope that resource planning is clear to everyone. First one is the identification or the inventory of the resource. First of all, we have to invent in which area the resources are present, how much amount the resources are present. So first of all, we have to identify the area. The next one is evolving a planning structure. What technology are required, what technology it will suit for the extraction of the resource. We have to think about the second one. So this is the second step, that what technology we need for the extraction and the utilization of the resource. If we don't have that technology, it is useful to extract that resource. So this is the second stage of the resource planning. The third stage is matching the resource development plan with the overall national development plan. How much the resource is going to benefit us. Suppose for oil or for coal, suppose I take the example of the petroleum oil. The petroleum oil, we are dependent on the petroleum oil on outside countries. On outside countries we are dependent more for the petroleum products, because the outside petroleum products are much cheaper than whatever we can extract in our country. Suppose our country is having the petroleum oil, but whenever we are going to extract the petroleum oil, the costing is too high. So it is futile to extract the oil from our country. It is better to import the oil. If the extraction cost is larger, then we will not extract that material. We will import it from the another country. So this is what this point is telling. Matching the resource development with the overall national development plan. How much the resource is going to match with the development plan of our country. That we also have to be concerned about that before we make the resource planning. So I hope that 3 stages are clear to everyone. If it is not clear, you can recap the video once again to understand a very better manner. So let's move. Development of the resource. The resources are very important for the survival of the human beings. But apart from extraction of the resource, we will also look about our environment also. If we continue to extract the resource indiscriminately and in a very large amount, if we continue to extract the resource in a very large amount, it will have adverse impact upon our environment also. So on one side we have to save our environment, on the another side we have to use the resources also. So that is why people stress more on uh, the careful use of the resource, so that because the resources are limited, so if we continue to use the resource indiscriminately, it will lead to the another major problem, that is the depletion of the resource for satisfying the greed of few individuals. Once Gandhiji has said in this point that our resource is enough to fulfill the hunger or for our survival, but it is very difficult to satisfy the greed of any individual. So whatever the resources are there, we have to use it in a very careful manner, so that it will not be come to an end. The depletion means the end. Another one, the accumulation of the resource in few hands, which will divide the society into rich and poor. Another thing, we should not allow the resources to be accumulated. It should not be concentrated into the hands of the few people. Otherwise, it will divide the society into rich class and the poor class. Indiscriminate exploitation of the resources will also have the adverse impact upon the ecological crisis, like global warming, the increase of the temperature, the ozone layer depletion, the environmental pollution, and the land degradation. If we suppose there is a mountain, and as everybody knows that the mountain are the source of the mining industry, the iron, the magnesium, the copper, all these are found into the mountain. So we have done the mining and we have removed the mountain. So in this manner, if we remove the mountain, it will have adverse impact for the earthquake also. The earthquake may happen because for the so many year there was a mountain, but we have removed it by human activity, by mining and all that. So it will also have the adverse impact for the earthquake also on our earth. So too much mining also is not proper, it is also not suitable for the survival of the human being and for the saving the environment. So I hope that this point is clear to everyone. You can write down these main points are there in the development of the resource. So let's move. Therefore, another point is there. Therefore, the resource planning is essential for the sustainable existence of all forms of life. The sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. What is sustainable development? We will study just now. The sustainable development is the judicious use of the resource, careful use of resource to satisfy our wants without compromising with the environment. If we it is also said that if we consume all the resource by ourselves, so what gift we are going to give to our successors, to our children? What gift we are going to give? If we complete every resource, if we end every resource, what our successors will get from us? So for this reason, it is said that sustainable development, that means by everybody sustain at least. We may not enjoy the luxurious life, but at least we would be able to sustain. That is why it is called the sustainable development. It means sustainable development means that everything without whatever the development we will do, it should not be at the cost of the environment. The environment should be safe. The environment should be safe in spite of our development, in spite of our mining, in spite of our agriculture activity and the deforestation. Deforestation means the cutting of the trees. we need to cut the tree for agriculture. We need the clear land. We need clear land for the agriculture. So for that reason we have to cut the trees. That is called the deforestation. So if we cut the tree, it will have adverse impact upon the environment. So we will not cut the large amount of the tree. We will cut the tree according to our requirement. So this is what the sustainable development did. Without damaging the environment, and the development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future generation. The future generation should also be given the scope to survive and use the resource. So I hope that a sustainable development is clear to everyone. This is the very excellent definition of the sustainable development. So you can write down this point. In frequent time this comes. What is the meaning of the sustainable development? What is the meaning of the Agenda 21? What is the meaning of the resource planning? What are the main steps of the resource planning? It is a favorite question of this chapter. So I hope that you are clear and you have understood the main points. Now let's come about the Rio de Janeiro, the Earth Summit. The Earth Summit took place in 1992. So the capital of Brazil, the Rio de Janeiro, is the capital of the Brazil. The Brazil is the name of the country. I hope everybody know already. So after 1990, the whole world was in competition to do the faster economic development by extraction of the resources. The whole world was in competition to be prosperous, and in the competition to become the prosperous, the environment was getting damaged. The ozone hole was increasing. Ozone hole was increasing day by day, and the global warming was also increasing. So in this manner, in 1992, more than around 172 countries, more than 100 heads of the state decided to have a careful study about the extraction of the resources. So they met in the Rio de Janeiro, that is the Brazil, for the first time, for the first International Earth Summit, for addressing the urgent problem of environmental protection. We have to protect our environment if we want to survive, and if we want that our successors will also survive in our environment. We have to save the environment. The progress is necessary, the development of the people is necessary, but we have to save the environment, because at least we will be living in this environment. So we have to take care of our environment also. So this is what the main objective of the Earth Summit was, to save the environment, the environmental protection, and the sustainable development was the key issue of the Earth Summit. The main idea of the Earth Summit was to climate change. Another most important point was the Agenda 21. The Agenda 21 is the agreement which was signed in the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. So they did a number of the agreements for the global economic change and the biological diversity. So around 40 points were discussed and agreed on the Agenda 21 for the protection of the environment. So let's discuss about the Agenda 21. So Agenda 21 was an agreement. It is an agreement which was signed by the countries of the Earth Summit. The people who were participating in the Earth Summit signed an agreement which is known as Agenda 21. So the Agenda 21 was adopted for the first time at the Earth Summit held in 1992 at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. there were mainly two principles of the Earth Summit: to combat the environmental damage and the poverty. So on one side we have to fight against the poverty also, on the another side we have to fight against the uh, to save our environment also, for the mutual needs and the shared responsibility. Every country has to take the responsibility for the environmental protection. Every government should draw its own local agenda 21. The local agenda 21 means the local steps, because the situation of every country is different. Some countries are too much advanced, and some countries are least advantaged, the least developed. So the at the local level, at your own decision, you have to take the steps to follow the agreements and the 40 points which were agreed in the Agenda 21 agreement. So I hope that you will be able to write the Agenda 21 whenever it appears in the exam. Agenda 21 is a agreement which was signed in the Rio de Janeiro in the Earth Summit 1992. There were mainly two principles. So these are the two principles which you are required to write at the time of writing the answers. I hope that everything is clear to everybody. Land resource. Land is also a resource. How? If your land is fertile, it is much better, because after all you are going to eat the food crops, and for growing the food crops you need fertile land. If your land is barren, then what will happen? You have to import. It is very difficult to survive in the barren land. You have to import the food grains from the another country. You have to be dependent upon the another country. So land is a resource. Human population will settle on the fertile land only. Human population generally don't survive in the barren and the desert land. For example, in our country you can have a look over Thar Desert, the Sahara Desert, the Gobi Desert. All these other desert places, nobody survive in those desert area. So land is also a resource. If you have fertile land, you have plus point for our country, for your country. So land is a natural resource, utmost important. You cannot change your land. The Thar Desert it will not change. It will remain the desert area. So it supports the natural vegetation, the wildlife, human life, economic activities, transport, and the communication system. So the land is also treated as a resource. Land is at present limited size, so we must use them effectively. Land is always limited. Land is always fixed. Land is not going to increase or decrease. Land is a fixed, so land has a limited size. So I hope that land as a resource is clear to everyone. What is the use of the land? What is the advantage of the fertile land? What are the disadvantage of the barren land or a desert land? I hope that you are able to understand. Now let's move to the next point. Land resource in India. If we can tell what is the land resource. India is a mixture of the plain land, of the mountain area, and also of the plateau area. Around 43% is our land area. 30% of our total surface belongs to the mountain. You can take also the Himalaya mountain, the Eastern Ghat, the Western Ghat, the Mahendragiri, the Nilgiri hills in the South India, all the mountain. You can include the Himalaya mountain also, you can include in this area. Including all that, there are total 30% area which are under the mountain, and it is not suitable for the agriculture. We can't, it is very difficult to do agriculture over the mountain area. The 27% of our country is the plateau region, like the eastern the plateau region What is the difference between the plateau and the mountain? Plateau means the flat table area and the mountain means the high area. If we talk about the plateau, the roof of the world is called the roof, which is called the roof of the world. The Tibetan plateau is called the roof of the world, Tibetan plateau. So the whole 27% area is under plateau. So if we have a look over this, 43% of the area belongs to the plain. We have the larger plain area in which all the soils are found. The mountain area, the plateau area 27%, and the 30% is the mountain area in which agriculture is a problem. So mainly our agriculture happens in the 43% of the area. Next, land utilization. We are utilizing the land. We have forest area, around 21% in our country is under the forest area. So in the forest area, the agriculture is not possible. The barren land, what is the meaning of the barren land? Which is unfit for the agriculture. Unfit for the agriculture. Unfit for agriculture is called the barren land. The next one is the wasteland. We can use the wasteland. The wasteland means those land which are left uncultivated for 5 years. Around minimum 5 years we have left that land without any cultivation. But we can do the cultivation over the wasteland with the fertilizer and with the labor power. We can use the wasteland for the agriculture. So that is called the wasteland. Non-agriculture uses, the buildings, roads, factories. We cannot do agriculture over the building, road and the factories. The third one is the fallow land. The fallow land means those lands. The fallow land means those land which the agriculturalists leave it after ploughing it. After ploughing it, we leave it for 1 or 2 years. For 1 or 2 years we are leaving the fallow land. That is called the fallow land. After ploughing the field, if we leave the field for 1 or 2 years, it will be treated as a fallow land. We should use the fallow land because the fallow land retains the fertility of the soil. If we continue to do agriculture activity over the same land again and again, it will lose its fertility. So whatever we do is after ploughing it, it is better that after ploughing it we leave the land for 1 or 2 years. So that will be called the fallow land. So I hope that you are able to understand all these main points. What is fallow land, what is barren land, what is wasteland. As a 1 or 2 marks question, it can come in the exam. So I hope that all these doubts are clear to you. So let's move. Land degradation and the conservation measures. So how to stop the land degradation and how to conserve the land. Human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining and quarrying is the contributed to the land degradation. LAND, to the land degradation. So these are the main factors. Deforestation leads to the land degradation. Overgrazing by the animals. Overgrazing by the animals also lead to the land degradation, because the grasses, if we remove the grasses from the field, it will do the process of soil erosion. The erosion would happen on the land. So that will also lead to the land degradation. Next one is the measures to control the land degradation. What are the measures that we can stop the soil erosion and we can control the land degradation? Afforestation. The forest maintain the water level over the land. So forestation is a good measure to stop the soil erosion as well as to stop the land degradation. The planting of the shelter belts of the plant. What is the meaning of the shelter belts? Shelter belts means planting grasses, long grasses over both sides of the land. If we plant long grasses over both the sides of the land, it will stop the speed of the wind and the water. So it will not erode, it will not do the soil erosion. It will protect the soil, it will protect the fertility of the soil. So the shelter belts means planting the long grasses over both the sides or over the corners of the field to stop the speed of the wind. So the control of the overgrazing, we have to control the overgrazing by calling a small amount of the animals. The stabilization of the land dunes by growing thorny bushes. The thorny bushes are also essential for the stabilization of the land dunes. The proper management of the wastelands and the control of the mining activity. We have to minimize the mining activity, because the mining also pollutes the land. The dust particles at the time of the mining pollutes the land, cultivable land. So this is a picture of the shelter belts. This is the field you can see here, and here are the grasses. It will stop the speed of the wind, and it will help to stop the soil erosion. Soil as a resource, as the land is a resource, soil is also the resource. The soil is the uppermost layer of the earth, which has the ability to support life. It is a renewable natural resource. It is a medium to grow plant and support life, and to support different type of living organism on the earth. So on the next video, we are going to understand about the 6 type of the soil. So don't miss that video. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us and watching the channel. Thank you.